What's up, snappers? Welcome back to the channel. DDDREWSKY here. We're gonna be looking at the brand new card Scream to see if she's worth your precious resources. We're gonna be looking at our key synergies, counters, and some decks that I brewed for her. But wait, before we do that, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel. I do weekly reviews about the brand new card in Marvel Snap, and we're trying to reach 500 subs of the channel, so definitely subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get into it. So now the question is, who is Scream? Let's take a look. So Scream is Donna Diego. Her abilities are superhuman strength, durability, speed, shapeshifting, camouflage, and web spinning. Her origin is a former news reporter who bonded with the Venom symbiote after witnessing Eddie Brock's transformation. Her personality is determined, courageous, but can be impulsive and reckless. Notable appearances: Venom, Lethal Protector, Maximum Carnage, Venom the Last Rites, and Venom Space Knight. So in Marvel Snap, she's a 2-cost, 2-powered card with an ability: when an enemy card moves, steal 2 power from it once per turn. So I believe in Marvel Snap, a very, very strong ability, especially to counter move. There's a lot of move that's happening right now in the current meta. So anytime when a card moves, she gains that power, which is 2. And it's once per turn. I think it's very, very good. I think she has a lot of potential to be a great tech card in not only just anti-move decks, but again, she's very flexible. So I believe she has a lot of potential. So now let's take a look at some of the pros and cons about Scream. So the first pro about her is that she's a possible 10 power. This is including turns going until turn 6. So I think 210 is way above rate. Her ceiling is very, very high as a 2-cost card. Another pro about her is that she steals power, which is great, right? We see cards like Cassandra Nova, Silver Sable in the meta, and they're doing very well, right? Stealing, I think it has a very cool effect, right? My earlier point is that she was at 10 power, but technically she could get even higher, right? Stealing that power, you are afflicting, damage to the opponent's cards. So again, I think her her power output is pretty massive. Another pro about her is that she's a great counter to move. Again, the last season, there was tons of move cards. She's an amazing counter against, cards like Human Torch. Her capability of countering most move cards is exponential. Another pro about her is that her ability is very passive, right? You just play her down and then just reap the benefits, right? Another good thing about her is that she is just like a normal text. She's not an ongoing card. She's not on reveals. So the only card technically in the game right now is Red Guardian that can counter her. But we'll talk about that in a little bit later. Let's start talking about the cons about her. She is easy to counter. So think about, again, some of the counters that I've already just mentioned. It was like Red Guardian, Shadow King. There are cards that can counter her, and she's going to be very predictable, right? Like, you see her in her lane, she's more than likely going to stay in that lane unless they have another card to move her out, like Madame Web or something like that. But overall, she's very easy to counter. Another point is that it's a 1 per turn ability. There's no way to make it happen more than once, but again, I think that's kind of a good balance about her, right? I think if it happened to any opponent card and her power would grow even more, I think that's going to be way too chaotic if it's just more than 1 card. So just keep in mind of that. Another point is that she's only useful against move cards. So at the end of the day, if you're facing a deck that is not running any move, or if you're not manually moving their cards, she's kind of a dead card, right? When you really think about it. So a 2/2 is not the worst, but it's pretty low for a 2-cost card. All right, so now let's look at some of the key synergies and counters for Scream. So the first synergy that I want to bring up is Miles. Miles will definitely take advantage of Scream, especially if you build a deck that have moving pieces, or if you're moving cards on their side. Miles will love, a card like Scream. So again, getting a 1-cost 6-power card is really good. Kingpin is another synergy as well for Scream. again, they have like similar, I guess you could say, goals in the game. For him to afflict, -2 when you bring a card to his lane, and Scream again is, reaping the benefits of that as well. So again, there is some synergy there. Again, there might be a deck that I brewed, featuring both of them. And then again, Craven is another card will benefit with Scream, especially if you're moving the cards over there to his lane. And then again, Scream has some type of synergy, as in like they love when cards are being able to, move into their lane, or just in general, right? So I believe their synergy is going to be really good. Shadow King, again, another amazing counter against Scream, especially if her, power grows to a crazy amount, maybe even above 10. Shadow King will reset it back down to 2. Red Guardian, again, if you can get out Red Guardian out early, even like turn 3, and disable Scream, that's a huge counter. So for Luke Cage, it's more like affecting the cards that Scream has affected with Affliction of damage. So again, it's not like a direct counter for her, but it's a counter card for the other cards that are afflicted with the damage, right? Now let's look at some of the decks that I brewed for Scream. I think they're pretty fun and competitive. Let's check it out. So the first deck that we have here is called Screaming Affliction. So the primary goal of this deck is to afflict damage to your opponent. There's US Agent, again, there's Man Thing to afflict damage. Scream is another card that can afflict damage to the opponent, which is, again, stealing. Silver Sable does the stealing as well. Cassandra Nova is another stealing. Again, there's synergy right there. Hazmat Ajax combo is insane. Scream is kind of dependent on the matchup. Again, if they're moving their cards, she's gonna go crazy. But she's kind of like in case if they are running move. If you don't want to go through, hurting your own cards, and if you didn't like draw Ajax, you could always run Luke Cage to protect your own cards. Obviously, synergy with US Agent, Man Thing. A-Bomb is going to take advantage of all the discounts from everything. Red Guardian, another amazing, tech card in the game. Brings like high Evo again to another, form, which is really cool. I love the Ajax Hazmat style of high Evo. So again, this deck I think has a lot of potential. Stealing power is pretty much the same thing as, damaging them with Affliction. So overall, I think this has really cool potential. And again, this will probably be my first deck that I'm going to try out with Scream. So now let's take a look at the second list that I created. The next list we got is called Scream's Screaming Shuffle. Kind of like a take on move with some toxicity in it. We are moving cards to generate power and to afflict damage. Again, there's synergy with Aranya, Ghost Spider with Dagger, and then again there's Silver Sable synergy with Scream as well. There is Scorpion to afflict more damage, and again Cassandra Nova with Scream as well. I guess you could see a pattern here. The combo of Cassandra Nova, Scream, and Silver Sable are going to be great together. And even Red Guardian, again, another great counter card. Scarlet Spider is pretty much like kind of like a flex card in this deck. Ajax is great, especially taking advantage of the Scorpion and even Red Guardian synergy, especially when you're dealing, negative affliction damage. And of course, Alioth. All right, so now let's take a look at the third and final deck for Scream. So the next list we have is called Damage Dealers. There's synergy between Kingpin, Craven, especially when, you could even put them in their own lane or, in together or, separate. Scream has a synergy with Kingpin and Craven, especially when cards move into their lane. Polaris to move cards into the Craven. You can move cards with Spider-Man as well. Miles Morales, again, will take advantage of all this movement from Jeff, Silk, Stegron. Stegron and Juggernaut are very good disruptors. Arrow, very slept on. She just got buffed as well. And then Magneto is another great, movement piece. The overall goal of this deck is to basically move your opponent's cards on the board. They basically have no choice of where their cards go. So again, this deck could be really fun. Scream will definitely elevate this list. So now let's look at what's in her Spotlight Week. Let's take a look. So Scream is paired up with Man-Thing and Mobius and Mobius. So Scream is a Series 5 card, Man-Thing Series 4, and Mobius is Series 4 as well. I personally think Man-Thing depends if you like the flavor of the card, right? I think for most cases, he's not a must-have. Mobius, I believe actually he's a pretty good tech card. I think a lot of people sleep on him. Energy, discounting is very strong in Marvel Snap, so he is very important to the meta. So I think you definitely should go get him if you don't have him. Again, art is subjective. These are my takes, but unfortunately, all three of them, in my opinion, are passable. It's not really my flavor, but again, if you like them, you can totally go for them. But again, if you're low on resources, be careful to not, burn all those resources because they are very scarce. Again, in summary, Man-Thing, pass, and Mobius, you should definitely, snap on that. Now let's take a look at the star ratings that I gave Scream. So for competitive, I gave her a 3.5 stars. I think she'd be pretty good, but again, it really depends on what you're playing against. If they're not playing any move, then you probably won't get as much value. It depends on, the cards that you surround her with as well. So 3.5 stars, I think is fair. For fun, I think her ability and her, maybe even her animation might be pretty cool. So I believe should be a very fun card at a 4-star. Flexibility, I think she's a 3-star because, again, technically you could throw her in any deck because her ability is really flexible in that way. But again, it really depends on who you're facing against. Future changes, I would say 3 stars. Again, it depends on how strong she can get from the stealing and, how often that happens. But I personally think that maybe she'll get knocked down, like maybe a peg, maybe she'll be like a 2-1. Or something like that, but I don't see any dramatic changes honestly with her. So I think you're pretty safe if you do decide to, use resources on her. All right, now let's take a look at my final review and what I think about Scream, if she's a snap or skip. So I say snap on her. I know it might be a little bit of a surprise, but I think, especially with all the movement that's happening in the meta, I think she's gonna be pretty good, honestly. She's going to be stealing power. Remember, she's not just only gaining power, but she is afflicting damage to the opponent's, cards. So I personally think she has a really cool and a unique effect. We don't really have a counter for move. But yeah, let me know your thoughts if you're going to be getting Scream. Again, a friendly reminder, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. We are trying to reach 500 subs again. And that's my final review on Scream. I will see you guys on the next snap or skip. Happy snapping.